viewers, as you know, this was a high-intensity blast.
Good evening, viewers. You're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Zakir Jacob. At the outset, I want to take a moment off to thank all our viewers in India, around the world, who tuned in last week for some momentous news events, whether it was the Bihar election counting day verdict or whether it was the Delhi blast. You have unequivocally reposed your faith in India's news channel of choice, which is CNN News 18. For the last 20 years, you have stood with us through thick and thin. You have tuned in to CNN News 18 every election, election after election, year after year. And we're miles ahead of the competition thanks to you and the faith that you have reposed in our journalism, in our reportage, and in our ability to tell the election story like no other channel in the country can do. So once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much to our viewers around India and the world for backing CNN News 18 and for making CNN News 18 India's election destination. I want to now shift focus to the big story that we're tracking today. It's a major verdict by the Supreme Court of India, which in a way reaffirms the separation of powers between the judiciary and the executive. This was on the question of governors sitting on bills and not giving their assent or forwarding it to the president for consideration. The court today has ordered that it cannot impose any sort of timelines on governors because that would mean it would be infringing on the domain of the executive. But at the same time, the court also said that governors cannot withhold their assent indefinitely. Will the opposition now stop saying that the BJP government is basically using governors as their lackeys to stop those bills that they don't agree with politically? Let me first take you through what the court said. It's a significant order. It's a constitutional bench order. In a way, it corrects a previous order of the Supreme Court itself, which had imposed a deadline of 3 months on the governor and on the president for giving a decision on a bill that's been passed either by a state legislature or by the parliament. Answering the reference made by the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, under Article 143 of the Constitution, the Supreme Court held that the court cannot impose any kind of timelines for decisions to be made by the President or the Governor on granting assent to a bill. The court further held that the concept of courts declaring deemed assent to the bills if the timelines are breached is antithetical to the spirit of the Constitution and against the doctrine of the separation of powers. The court also observed if there is a prolonged or unexplained delay by which the governor frustrates the legislative process, then the court can exercise a limited power of judicial review to direct the governor to decide in a time-bound manner without observing anything on the merits of the bill.
Delivering an advisory opinion or verdict on a rare constitutional or in fact a rare constitutional site, which is in fact a presidential reference given out by President of India Draupadi Murmu, giving out 14 questions of law with regards to the powers of governors and the President of India and timelines with regards to that. The Supreme Court today held in a 5 judges constitution bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, Justice B.R. Gawai, clearly going on to say that timelines for the governors and the President cannot be fixed because it goes against the separation of powers doctrine, which is in fact an important facet of the Constitution of India. Not only that, the topmost court of the country also stated that though the governors cannot be directed or given a particular timeline, but if at all there is in fact a prolonged delay in exercising of the options available under Article 200, 201 by the governor, then the courts can have a limited intervention per se as far as directing the governor to actually act on the bill is concerned. 3 options are available with the governor under Article 200 and 201. One is to give an assent to the bill that has been sent by the State Assembly. Second is to send the bill back to the Assembly with its comments. And third is to withhold the bill and send it to the President of India. In fact, the Supreme Court also went on to say that for every bill, there is no need for the President of India to actually send in and seek a legal opinion under Article 143(1) from the topmost court of the country, and only in circumstances which deem it appropriate should such a jurisdiction be exercised.
Now, this verdict is significant because it resolves a key federal dispute between the centre and the states. It affirms that neither the governor nor the president can be forced into judicial timelines or deemed assent for state bills, curbing the sweep of the 2024 Tamil Nadu ruling. It reasserts the separation of powers between the executive and the judiciary. The states that deemed assent after the court set a deadline effectively makes the judiciary perform the function of the executive, something that the constitution does not permit. It also clarifies that Article 200 and the options before the governor essentially has only three choices. Number one, give assent. Number two, withhold and return the bill back to the legislature. Or three, reserve for the president. An indefinite pocket veto is unconstitutional, is what the court has ordered today. It also safeguards the discretionary powers under Articles 200 and 201, which is generally beyond judicial scrutiny. It allows only limited judicial intervention. The courts may order the governor to decide within a reasonable period of time in case there is an unjustified delay without commenting on the merit of the bill or influencing the outcome.
So if any bill is passed by the cabinet, which means it has legitimacy from the people of Tamil Nadu, 8.4 crore people who have elected the government, in this case DMK government. Governor is nothing but an appointee. So how can an appointee who has no legitimacy from the people sit on a bill indefinitely?
All right, I want to go across for a quick face-off on this. Rohan Gupta of the BJP is joining us. Ashpreet Kadyal of the Congress is joining us. So, Ashpreet, the court basically saying in absolutely clear terms that it's not the court's job, it will be infringing on the executive's domain if the court were to set these kind of artificial deadlines or court-set deadlines for the governor or the president to decide on assent to a bill. So essentially what you've been arguing for, and when I mean you, I mean the Congress party, other opposition parties, state governments, you've been arguing for, a fixed deadline for governors to act on bills. The court has not bought that argument.
Well, number one, what the Honorable Supreme Court has said, we welcome that the governors cannot sit over bills indefinitely. They do not have unfettered powers, and they have three options: either to give assent, or to give it back to the Legislative Assembly, or to send it to the President. Now, the reason as to why this was important is because when you make a bill, a lot of time, energy and resources go into that, of the government, of the bureaucrats, of the people, and there are times when it's very urgent for the welfare of the people, for the betterment of the people, and there's an urgency to it. So in that scenario, when the governors used to sit on it, the people used to suffer, the democracy used to suffer. And now that the Honorable Supreme Court has said that the constitutional courts can intervene, that it is open to judicial review, it is a welcome step, and we welcome this.
No, but Ashpreet, the court has also said that this concept of deemed assent after a court-set deadline cannot happen. The court is not in concurrence with that because the court feels that would mean the judiciary is overstepping into the domain of the executive. The court has very clearly said that today.
That the court has said, our objective was, number one, to ensure that the bills are not put out to, just hang out dry. They used to keep on staying there for months and months, and the people used to keep on waiting. And some very important bills. And now, after this order, we'll be able to go to the courts and we'll be able to get a judicial review if in case there are going to be prolonged...
No, but my understanding, and I'll go to Rohan on this, my understanding is the court has said you can only approach the court once it's passed as an act. You cannot approach the court if it's still in the bill stage.
No, now 1 second here. Now, that is what the Honorable Supreme Court has said, that if in case if there is a delay, and due to that delay, the legislative process is frustrated, in that scenario, judicial review is very much possible. And the Honorable Court can intervene.
Rohan Gupta, so see, basically the point that the opposition is stressing is that the governor has only three options. One, either give assent or withhold but return back to the state legislature. You cannot sit on a bill indefinitely, the court has said. You cannot have this indefinite pocket veto, which is unconstitutional.
Completely, Zaka. And I think it's a very insightful bill which brings clear-cut boundary of judiciary and the confusion which was created in Tamil Nadu where the High Court has passed order. This order clearly tells that boundaries, the timeline cannot be set by judiciary as far as governors are concerned. However, it really brought the concept of dialogue rather than just keeping the bill pending. That is also welcome. But at the end of the day, it is the responsibility of the state government also to ensure that what are the concerns of the governor that can be definitely discussed through dialogue and then can be resolved. So absolutely, this is a tight slap on opposition parties' demand for fixing the time limit as far as governors and president is concerned.
But
That
the
is
opposition has been
completely
claiming,
revoked. And
look at all the states where the opposition is ruling. It's only in those states, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, etc., where they are withholding the bills. They're withholding assent to the bill. In BJP ruled states, no governor is sitting on a bill.
See, we cannot generalize, right? You have to take the governor in confidence. And again, that's what Supreme Court has said. While they have said that we cannot decide the timeline, but definitely they have, clearly said, emphasized on the process of dialogue. If there is a gray area, definitely it has advised the government to engage in dialogue with governor. That is what is required in democracy.
So,
And
Ashwin,
as
the
a state-
court has also said, and it safeguards the discretionary powers given to the governors under Articles 200 and 201, which is beyond judicial scrutiny. It only allows a limited judicial intervention where the courts may order the governor to decide within a reasonable period in case there is an unjustified delay without going into the merit of the bill per se.
Definitely, and that's exactly what we wanted. We did not want for the courts to get into the merits of the matter or of the bill. We wanted the honorable courts to have a say. If in case the governors, like you said, Zaka, you very rightly pointed out that in the opposition ruled states, many a times it has been witnessed that the governors sit over the bills, and this does not seem to happen in BJP ruled states. So when that happens, we show a pattern, we show a history, we show it that unnecessarily there is a delay that is being caused and we can go for a judicial review. It's been made crystal clear today. So it's a win for the democracy. It's a win for what we wanted. And all I'm saying here is that it's a matter between elected and selected. We believe in the elected.
The thing that the court has struck down today, Rohan, is this whole deemed assent concept. That is, if, according to the previous verdict, if a governor sat on a bill for an indefinite period of time, I think the period of time that the court opined was 3 months. If it sat on a bill for more than 3 months, then it is deemed assent because it's been passed by the legislature, it's been passed by majority. The governor cannot sit on on bills indefinitely. As I said before, he has only 3 options: either forward it to the president, return it back to the state legislature, and if it's returned back to him for a second time, then he or she has no choice but to give the assent. And the role of this pocket veto that the court has clearly said is unconstitutional. He cannot be a pocket veto.
That's what I'm saying, Zaka. It is a tight slap on opposition face where court has clearly said that the timeline cannot be decided by the judiciary. That is what the opposition was telling. The order which was passed, which decided the timeline of 3 months and deemed assent, if it is not passed in 3 months, it is assent. So that is going into specific of the bill. Judiciary cannot cross that line of just being advisory rather than going into merits of it. And that's what's the win of the constitution here. That it really brought the clarity. Absolutely, it cannot be put indefinitely. And that's why the final court comment says that you should engage in the dialogue. That is the advice to the state government. If governor has certain objections and you don't take that seriously, obviously governor has to use his, that whatever apprehensions the governor has, there has to be a dialogue. What is happening in opposition state? They are, completely adamant. Whenever the bill goes to governor, it is brought back again for the government to discuss. They will not discuss or they will not put focus on the merits.
I just want to, I request both Ashpreet and Rohan to stay on with us for just 1 second. There's also another political story that's just coming through, and I would want their comments right after this. The Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister. Remember, there's this ongoing power tussle that's been going on between DK Shivkumar, the Deputy Chief Minister, and the Chief Minister, Mr. Siddaramaiah. Now, DK Shivkumar has put in a big bomb. He's hinted that he might quit as the boss of the state unit of the party. He is, remember, both Deputy Chief Minister as well as the KPCC President. At a party event in Bangalore, Shivkumar said, "I cannot hold this post permanently," but he reassured his supporters he will continue in the state leadership team. Is he sort of signaling that there is this ongoing tug of war which he is reigniting with Siddaramaiah? DK Shivkumar also clarifying that he's trying to set an example that no one can be a permanent fixture in the Congress. But the problem is this. For the Congress party in Karnataka, this is an unresolved issue, and it doesn't seem to be getting resolved anytime soon. And that is a matter of grave concern, because how long can there be this constant loggerheads between the CM and the Deputy CM? Let's listen into what Mr. Shivkumar said in the first place and then his clarification that came thereafter.
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇರಲಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಆ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಭಾರತ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಸದ್ಯದಲ್ಲೇ. ಅವರ ಟೈಮ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಈ ಸದ್ಯದಲ್ಲೇ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಕಚೇರಿಗಳನ್ನ ಕೂಡ 100 ಕಚೇರಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಈಗ ಹೊರಟಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಈಗ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಯಾರು MLAಗೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾರು ಮಂತ್ರಿ ತಗೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನನಗೆ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿಯಿಂದ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾಳೆ ನಾನು ಕಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಕೆಲವರು ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಕೆಲವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅಧಿಕಾರ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬೇಕು. ಈ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಕಚೇರಿ ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಕೆಲವರು ಮರ್ತು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಏನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗ್ತದೆ? ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನೆಲ್ಲ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡೋದು. ಡೆಲ್ಲಿಯವರೇ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅವ್ರ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಚೇರಿನ ಕಟ್ಟಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿಯವರೇ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ನಾನು ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಬಯಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ನಾನು ಇರ್ತೀನೋ ಇಲ್ಲೋ ಅದು ಬೇರೆ ವಿಚಾರ. ಬಟ್ 100 ಕಚೇರಿ ಯಾರು ನನ್ನ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಪರ್ಮನೆಂಟಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ನಾವು ಪರ್ಮನೆಂಟಾಗಿ ಇರೋಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಐ ಆಮ್ ಟೆಲಿಂಗ್ ಯು, ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ 5 ವರ್ಷ ಆಗಿದೆ.
So he's saying he's not going to be there permanently, in reference, of course, to his position as party president, state party president. Why is DK Shivkumar making this comment, and why is the timing of this remark significant? Because as per his understanding and as per what he's been claiming, after the 2023 election, which the Congress won, a pretty big win there, the campaign was, of course, orchestrated by Siddaramaiah and by DK Shivkumar, and they faced off over the chief minister's post. He claims that the party high command had given him an assurance that it will be rotational chief ministership. First 2.5 years, it will be Mr. Siddaramaiah, and the next 2.5 years, it will be Mr. DK Shivkumar. Now, Siddaramaiah's camp had pointed back then to one man, one party, one post, which has to be enforced. If that would have been enforced, then that would have disqualified DK Shivkumar from holding both posts, which he has for the last 2.5 years, both as Karnataka state president as well as, of course, the deputy chief minister in the state. So what followed was days of hectic bargaining. The Congress finally opted for Siddaramaiah, who had backing from a large number of the MLAs, of course, and he is a leader of the Ahinda, the backward communities, the minorities, and of course, like I said, a majority of the MLAs backed Mr. Siddaramaiah. DKS was given a choice of 2 offers. He either accepted deputy chief ministership, and that allowed him to continue as Congress state chief, and then after 2.5 years, he claims the assurance was that he will be made chief minister. There will be a power sharing deal. Now, it's exactly 2.5 years today since the Siddaramaiah government came to office, and there is this power tussle that is going on. Siddaramaiah has also reacted to this. Let's just quickly play that out, and I'll get quick political reactions from both BJP and Congress on this.
ನೀವೇ ಹುಟ್ಟಾಕಿದವರು, ಕ್ರಾಂತಿ ಅಂತ ಹುಟ್ಟಾಕಿದವ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಮಾಧ್ಯಮದವರು. ಅದರಿಂದ ಕ್ರಾಂತಿನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಭ್ರಾಂತಿನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. 5 ವರ್ಷ ನಮಗೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. 5 ವರ್ಷ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾವು ಚುನಾವಣೆ ನಡೀತದೆ. ಚುನಾವಣೆನ ನಾವೇ ಗೆಲ್ತೀವಿ. ಇದು ಅನಾವಶ್ಯಕವಾದಂಥ ಚರ್ಚೆ ನಡೀತದೆ. ಅನಾವಶ್ಯಕ ಚರ್ಚೆ ನಡೀತದೆ. 2.5 ವರ್ಷ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಾನು ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ನವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೆ. ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಚರ್ಚೆಗಳು ಹುಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದು. 2 ವರ್ಷ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ರೀಸಬಲ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೆ. ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಚರ್ಚೆಗಳು ಹುಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಗೊಂದಲ? ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊಂದಲ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅವರು ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾನ್ಯ ಖರ್ಗೆ ಅವರು ರಾಹುಲ್ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
I want to get a quick reaction both from Ashpreet and from Rohan. Ashpreet, I mean, how long will you continue with this power tussle? I mean, it's between the top 2 in a state, which, of course, the Congress party has its government there. There are only 3 states in the country where the Congress has a government, and in one of those, in perhaps the biggest one of those, there is this ongoing, fratricide almost that's going on between the CM and the deputy CM.
Well, see, number one, in Congress, we are disciplined soldiers, and I am only authorized to speak on the topic that we were discussing before.
Sure.
However, since you've asked for a comment, I'll not be able to comment on this specific issue because I've not been authorized. However, since we talk of infighting, I can definitely talk about what's happening in Rajasthan BJP and the latest videos that are coming out between the former CM and the present CM. And I can talk of the infighting that is happening in the BJP of Haryana and the Tamil Nadu BJP unit. Everybody's seen what's been happening. So what matters to the people is the topic that we were discussing, Zaka.
Ashpreet, in those cases, I agree. It's not like infighting is only happening in Congress parties. I'm sure there is infighting in BJP also. But it's not happening between 2 ministers in government. It's certainly not happening between Chief Minister and Deputy Chief Minister.
Well, in Rajasthan, in Rajasthan, it's between the former CM and the present CM. We all saw how the former CM was issuing diktats, and the present CM was having to follow it.
Rohan, you want to respond to that? I mean, why are you going on and on about infighting in Congress? Because your people are also fighting.
See, this is the reason why states like, Bihar or Haryana, whenever this kind of things happen, they will blame people and on vote chori. Haryana, same thing happened. It was a good atmosphere for Congress party, but they could not put the united face and they lost it. Even Karnataka, because I was there when last election happened, DK Shikumar was definitely promised, but the darbaris around Mr. Rahul Gandhi, it suits to them that at the state level, two strong leaders fight each other so that unka dukan chalta rahe.
नहीं, वो कह रहे हैं, अश्वित कह रहे हैं कि आपके जो स्टेट्स हैं, हरियाणा हो या राजस्थान, backseat driving is being done by former chief ministers.
Absolutely not. As you know, all the states in where BJP is in power, you see new leadership, you see new people.
The chief secretary was replaced.
And absolutely, you don't see whether. See, let us even Madhya Pradesh when CM was changed. You just heard Shivraj Singh Chauhan's statement yesterday. What is the maturity? So for BJP party, bigger than the individual ambitions. And for Congress party, so-called darbaris, they will ensure that every state, two strong leaders will keep on fighting so that their importance doesn't get reduced. We have seen the same thing in Haryana, where Selja and the state leaders were fighting. Why nobody, intervened and tried to arrange truce between them? Because it suits them. So all the states, Rajasthan, Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot,
He's giving example after example where your leaders are fighting. Rajasthan, Haryana.
My only request is, we all saw how the chief secretary in Rajasthan had to be replaced, and there's been no justification from the Bharatiya Janata Party's leaders or from the center government. And number two, the fact of the matter is that the Bharatiya Janata Party is known for its infighting. We have seen how Mr. Advani was sidelined despite his experience, despite what Mr. Advani has done for the party. How he's been the way he's been subjected to, the kind of demeanor he's been subjected to. And number two, as far as the topics concerned, the Honorable Supreme Court's order, the Bharatiya Janata Party is for the selected, we are for the elected. And the people are for the elected, because when you have a government, when you have voted for a government, you expect them to do things for you. You expect them to do work for you, make policy for you, make schemes for you.
Okay.
And when the governors sit over that,
we'll see how that plays out. Thank you very much, Ashpreet, and thank you to both of you for joining us on the second topic as well. I must admit, I just thought I should get a comment in from both of them, because it's also a big political story that's brewing in a very, very important state in the south, and a very important state for the Congress, because like I said, it's the biggest state of the three that the Congress party is in power in. And talking about that state, in a landmark effort to try and decentralize the booming technology sector, the IT sector, the Karnataka government has rolled out an interesting new IT policy. Now, it features a substantial financial incentive aimed at pulling talent and investment away from the congested capital, Bangalore. Unveiled at the 28th Bangalore Tech Summit, the policy's cornerstone is a one-time relocation perk. The state is going to provide every IT sector employee 50,000 rupees. They're going to pay every IT company 50,000 rupees per employee if they move away from Bangalore to any of the other 5 cities. They've identified 5 other cities across Karnataka. The initiative is designed to accelerate growth in some of the emerging technology cluster cities, ensure that Karnataka's status as India's leading innovation hub in the technology space is maintained, rather than being concentrated solely in Bengaluru alone. The question, though, is, will companies buy this incentive of 50,000 rupees per employee to relocate them from Bengaluru to cities like Mysore or Belgaum or whichever other cities, the 5 cities that they've identified? Let's listen in to what Priyank Kharge had to say. He's the IT minister in the state, as to how he came up with this idea and whether or not this idea will work at all. We don't know. We don't know that.
See, I wouldn't call it incentivizing or subsidizing. I would say we've got a very robust policy, agile policy, to ensure that talent doesn't go where investments is, but investments goes where talent is. And we've been quite successful at that, considering our exports from Mysuru has been 6,500 crores. Our exports from the Hubli, Belgavi, Dharwad belt has been close to around 4,000 crores. Mangaluru has been 3,500 crores. We are getting centers of excellence across Kalburgi, Hubli, Belgavi, Mysuru, Udupi, Manipal. So I think the local economic accelerator program that we are devising is quite robust in the sense that they will start creating employment locally, getting investments locally, and more importantly, start contributing to the state GDP locally.
So the fiscal incentive is specifically targeted at companies that move their existing workforce away from Bengaluru or hire new talent from outside the state, but in these 5 other centers, and establish operations in these designated Tier 2 cities. So the key regions that have been identified for this include Mysuru, Mangaluru, Hubli Dharwad, Kalburgi and Shivmoga. These are the 5 centers that have been identified by the state government. It's a strategic push which aligns this vision that's been articulated by the state's IT minister. You heard Priyank Kharge a moment ago. He's basically saying that there is a need for policies where investment goes to where the talent pool is and not the other way around. Conventional wisdom is that it's the talent that goes towards the investment. It's the investment that comes first and then the talent comes. He's trying to now sort of flip that on the head. Whether or not it'll work, we'll have to wait and see. The goal is really to cultivate fully formed tech ecosystems across the state, ensuring balanced economic development and not this overbearing burden that is on one city, the capital, Bangalore.
I think what we are doing through this Deep Tech Elevate. So one is we are doing Elevate now beyond Bengaluru, but even beyond Bengaluru, the Elevate program will be specifically for Deep Tech. And we are going to look at different specializations and different sectoral areas that we want these different clusters to focus on. Mysuru, for example, we think is going to build up as the semiconductor capital, right, for India. And so I think it's really about being able to identify areas of focus and being able to connect and create centers of excellence there and being able to make capital available.
I want to go across to Harish Bijur, brand guru and founder of Harish Bijur Consultants. Harish, you think this will work? I mean, the idea that you push talent to these Tier 2 cities and then hope that investment goes in search of talent and not the other way around, where it's the investment that goes first and then talent follows. Do you think this will work?
Okay. See, firstly, this is doing a flip. And it's great to try a flip. Because, firstly, I must say that I'm totally with our IT minister, Priyank Kharge's proposal to really say that, let's develop these 8 other clusters or 9 other clusters. The incentives are much more than this 50,000 that per employee that we're talking about is likely to be in electricity tariffs. It's likely to be discounts of 50% on possibly rentals that IT companies are going to pay. And there are 6 or 7 items out there. I think this is needed because I have always had a clarion call about Bengaluru. You need to demagnetize Bengaluru. And if you must take care of Bengaluru, you must demagnetize it. And this helps demagnetize Bengaluru. Whether
no, but
it will
Harish,
work
tell
or
me this.
not,
The idea that people, will go to Mysore or Belgavi or wherever else, giving up, the perks of Bengaluru, cosmopolitanism, its weather, etc., etc. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure that that'll actually work. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, let me put it this way. You see, you need a nudge out of Bengaluru.
Okay.
And that nudge out of Bengaluru could come from the push and shove of traffic. Okay. For instance, at this given point of time, I've just gotten off at a restaurant to take this call because I was heading from my office to my home. And I've a 20-minute distance. I've been traveling for 1 hour, 20 minutes. Okay.
Wow.
And I've taken this break. So this is going to push people out of Bengaluru, hopefully. And I'd love it if people are pushed out of Bengaluru. But out of Bengaluru, then you need to have a catcher area. And the catcher area is Mysuru. And catcher area is Mangaluru. Mangaluru is really the new tech capital of Karnataka for sure, because the educational ecosystem, etc., is great. So 2 things will happen. One is magnetizing these micro cities, and the other is demagnetizing Bengaluru. But for heaven's sake, let's demagnetize Bengaluru.
But very quickly,
it's
not just about magnetizing or demagnetizing. It's also about the infrastructure in those Tier 2 cities. Do they have the infrastructure to build, 1 lakh square feet kind of big IT buildings and offices and so on? I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, is the infrastructure ready in Mysore, in Mangaluru, etc.?
Zaka, Mysuru, for instance, started with Infosys long decades ago.
Correct.
And, and numbers of other companies came in there. But, sometimes I worry for Mysuru because the character of Mysuru is going to change if this goes happening. The character of my Mangaluru is going to change. But then I think it's bound to happen. But infrastructure-wise, possibilities exist. There's plenty of space. And the attitude of the people is very welcome at this point of time.
Okay, Harish, thank you very much, and thank you for taking time out for us in the middle of all of that traffic and joining us here on Brass Tacks. Well, it's been 10 days since a blast ripped through the heart of Old Delhi, right outside the iconic Red Fort. A Delhi court today remanded 4 accused to the NIA custody for 10 days. The 4 accused are Dr. Muzammil Shakil Ganai, he's from Pulwama, Dr. Adil Ahmed Radhar of Anantnag, Mufti Irfan Ahmed Wage, he's supposed to be the Mufti, the man who was the person instrumental in radicalizing all of these individuals who are part of this terror module. He's from Shopian in Jammu and Kashmir. And of course, the lady doctor, Dr. Shaheen Said of Lucknow from Uttar Pradesh. The NIA, basically the case that the NIA has made is that these 4 were at the forefront of this white-collar terror module. They want to quiz them. They want to unearth the larger sinister plot that was at play and whether there were any other co-conspirators. One person, that suicide bomber, Dr. Umar, he died on the night of November 10th. But the others have been apprehended by the NIA and they want to get to the bottom of this plot, the players involved, and whether or not there were other modules, other sleeper modules that are still active in Delhi or Faridabad or even Kashmir for that matter. Now, according to top sources, this module is a hybrid indoctrination network. It's a mix of digital radicalization, academic grooming. Remember, most of them are doctors, highly qualified. There's also covert campus activities that happen, the Al Falah University, which seems to be a common ground for all of these individuals. And of course, the logistical support, which is masked under legitimate educational movements. Security agencies believe that the terror network behind the Delhi Red Fort blast relied heavily on educated youth who could operate discreetly, whether it's in hospitals, universities, hostels, spaces that are traditionally considered low risk by the intelligence grids. It is within this environment that Muzammil, who was born in 1992 in Pulwama, was slowly drawn into an extremist framework designed to convert high-achieving students into operational assets. At the center of this plot is the Al Falah University, where 3 of these doctors turned into terrorists. They were employed in the Al Falah University, and what is shocking is that the university is now linked to another terrorist who's wanted in at least 2 other blast cases. Investigators are probing the Al Falah University's link to Mirza Shadab Beg. He was previously connected to major terror attacks in India. Beg is a native of Azamgarh in Uttar Pradesh. He's an Indian Mujahideen terrorist who was involved in the 2008 serial blasts both in Delhi and in Ahmedabad. He completed his B.Tech at the Al Falah University in 2007, and his university identity card has been accessed by investigators. Following the 2008 Delhi blast, Beg fled India. He's now subject to an Interpol Red Corner notice. As of today, he remains one of India's most wanted terrorists, and he's been on the run since 2008. And now he's linked to this very same university campus where 3 out of these doctors were working in, and they have now been apprehended by the investigators.
Al Falah University, supposedly a university which was promoting education in engineering and medical sciences, is now turning out to be a university where a number of terrorists and their linkages are being found. Even as the probe into the doctors module was getting exposed by NIA, Jammu and Kashmir Police and other agencies, there is new revelation that is resurfacing. The Indian Mujahideen module, one of the missing members of the Indian Mujahideen module that struck terror in Delhi, in Ahmedabad, Surat and Gorakhpur, Shadab Beg, he too was from Al Falah. That is what a dossier by the Delhi Police Special Cell, when it was probing the Indian Mujahideen module, that has now emerged. So NIA is also looking at whether there is a connection between those who were providing logistical support to Indian Mujahideen and those who were helping out this doctor's module. The common linkages between them, Al Falah University. Now, Shadab Beg was a resident of Azamgarh. Atif Amin, who was killed in Batla House encounter, one of the main faces of Indian Mujahideen, he too was from Azamgarh. They were known to each other, and Shadab Beg has been missing for the last 18 years or so. Police suspected that he travelled to Karnataka, helped Indian Mujahideen procure explosives for the Ahmedabad blast, and the linkage of Al Falah University. Dr. Muzammil, Dr. Umar, both were staff members of Al Falah, same as Dr. Shaheen as well. So is this university simply not doing any background check about people they are hiring, or is there more to this Al Falah connection? There are, people who have been questioned within Al Falah. The university initially tried to say that, it is unfortunate that two of its doctors, two of its staff members have been picked up in connection with this terror probe. But now the entire apparatus, the entire administration and the way Al Falah was being run, everything is under scanner. Enforcement Directorate is doing its own probe as far as financial records of Al Falah are concerned. But now Shadab Beg's connection, Dr. Muzammil's connection, Dr. Umar's connection, all of this is being seen with a fresh insight by not just NIA but JK Police, Haryana Police and UP Police as well.
The SIR exercise that's underway across 12 states and union territories has now entered a decisive phase. Now, one that's marked with the confidence of the Election Commission on the one side and political unease on the other side. The Congress party has been the loudest critic of the SIR. They've repeatedly labelled the exercise as a vehicle for vote chori. Next in line is the Trinamool Congress, the Bengal Chief Minister. She's leading the charge against the SIR. She's sharpened her critique against the SIR even further, alleging that the environment created by the SIR has already had severe human consequences. She's attributing 24 deaths in Bengal to the SIR exercise. In fact, the West Bengal Chief Minister has written a letter to the Chief Election Commissioner, Gyanesh Kumar, against the ongoing SIR exercise, where she has alleged that a BLO in the state died by suicide because of unbearable pressure of the SIR exercise. Mamata Banerjee also further alleged that this is unplanned, it is relentless, and the nature of the workload ahead of the 2026 Assembly elections, both for the officers and the voters concerned, is making everyone very apprehensive. She also says, and she claims, that this has led to 28 deaths across the state, some because of fear, some because of uncertainty, whether or not their name will make it to the list, etc. Others because of the sheer stress of the exercise. She has also said that a process that usually takes up to 3 years is now being force-fitted into a 2-month timeline to please the political masters, and that is putting inhuman pressure on BLOs. But the exercise is gaining ground. According to the latest SIR update shared by the Election Commission, of the more than 50 crore 97 lakh electors as of October 27, 2025, 98.89% enumeration forms have been distributed and 20% have been digitized. The Election Commission has also asked political parties to assign more booth-level agents. The current figure stands at a little more than 11,40,000. But as that SIR exercise is being conducted, illegal immigrants, particularly in Bengal, are rushing out of the state. They are trying to go back to Bangladesh. To verify this ground reality, CNN News 18's Kamalika Sengupta traveled to a place called Hakimpur. It's a checkpost in the Bashirhat area. It's on the border between India and Bangladesh. This is the ground report that she filed from there.
Ever since the SIR process was introduced, speculation has been rife that undocumented migrants are attempting to leave Bengal voluntarily. At the Hakimpur Bashirhat checkpost, this claim appears to have some visible evidence. For the last 4 days, hundreds of people, mostly from Bangladesh, have been waiting here hoping to cross back.
We are standing in Hakimpur checkpost. This is the checkpost, and 1 kilometer from this is the actual Bangladesh border. And this is where all these people who now wants to go back to Bangladesh are sitting here. Some have come today, but most of them have come last 4 days. Most of them have come for a couple of days. Most of them have come 6 years, 4 years, 5 years back. Some have documents, some does not have documents, and that's why they are waiting. They want to go back. This type of picture definitely shows the why SIR was required.
Several individuals told us they do not have valid documents, and going back to Bangladesh feels safer. Most of them said they had come to Bengal during the COVID-19 lockdown or in the years immediately after that. Many worked in areas such as Salt Lake, Newtown, and Bakra.
আমাদের কাছে জিজ্ঞাসা করলাম বলে আমাদের নেই কিছু তাকে নেই তাহলে থাকতে পারবেন না না থাকতে পারলে আর কি করবো চলে যাব বেরে আমরা বস্তিতে ছিলাম তাই সেই এখন বাড়িওয়ালারা বলছে কি তোমরা ঘর ছেড়ে চলে যাও এনআরসি হবে তোমাদের জীবন বাঁচাও তাই চলে এসেছি
আমি এসেছিলাম রাত্রেবেলা ছিলাম তো অত সঠিকভাবে বলতে পারবো না আমার বাড়ির পাশ থেকে একজন আসছিল তার মাধ্যমে এসেছিলাম আমাদের এখানে কোনো বৈধ কাগজপত্র না থাকার কারণে আমাদের এলাকায় আমরা যেখানে থাকতাম সেখান থেকে আমাদের বলেছে আমাদের বাড়িতে ফিরে যেতে
Among those waiting is Rokeya Begum from Satkira, who came to Bengal during lockdown, and within few years not only does she possess a both voter card and Aadhaar, she is also receiving benefits of government schemes like Lakshmir Bhandar.
আর ভোটার আইডি কার্ড আছে হ্যাঁ কতদিন আগে তুমি এসছো এখানে
লকডাউনের আগে
কোথায় থাকতে এখানে আধার কার্ড ছিল দিদি
হ্যাঁ আধার কার্ড ভোটার কার্ড ছিল
ভোট দিয়েছো হ্যাঁ ভোটও দিয়েছো So this is Rokeya. She is saying that she has come from Satkira before lockdown. She is claiming that she has voter card, she has Aadhaar card. She does not have name in 2002. Most importantly, she is also saying that she has Lakshmir Bhandar. So that, and she has also casted vote. This picture says it all, says everything about infiltration. That is the big question which can be raised from this place. This is Komalika Sengupta with Anshuman Roy reporting for CNN News 18 from Hakimpur Checkpost.
The United States and Russia are believed to have drafted a new framework to end the Russia-Ukraine war. Under this plan, which covers 28 points, Ukraine would be required to concede both territory and its weapons and the size of its standing army. This news came just a day before the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was due to meet with US Army officials in Kyiv. The big question, though, is has Donald Trump now dumped Zelensky in Ukraine in his bid to come across as a peacemaker and end this nearly 4-year-long conflict? A 28-point plan to end the war in Ukraine, negotiated between Trump and his Russian interlocutors, has now come to light. The plan would basically require Ukraine to surrender territory, significantly reduce the size of its army, and relinquish some types of weapons. The 28-point proposal, drafted without any Ukrainian involvement, reflects the maximalist demands that the Kremlin has made throughout this war. Most of these demands in this plan, Ukraine has already long denounced as amounting to capitulation. There is no reason to believe why Ukraine would agree now. This is the latest effort by the Trump administration to reinvigorate the stalled talks in the nearly 4-year-old war. But some Ukrainian commentators also saw this proposal as a bid by Russia to press Ukraine for concessions. Significantly, it comes at a time when the government of President Volodymyr Zelensky is weakened by a high-level corruption scandal. Some of his key allies have been caught up in the scandal, where they are alleged to have profited in millions of dollars while sending Ukrainian soldiers into the battlefield. Kyiv is also under growing pressure on the battlefield as Russian forces make gains in the contested eastern Donbass region. The Ukrainian military has been stretched thin, it's running out of men and morale. The White House did not comment on the contents of this latest proposal, but they say that they're always open to peace.
The war would have never happened. If I were president, the war would have never happened. I think you would agree with that. This war would never have happened if I were president. It's stupid that it happened, but it did happen. I inherited the war, and I think we're going to get it ended not too distant future.
The United States is reviving its diplomatic efforts after meetings over the summer between Ukrainian and Russian officials. There was also the Alaska summit that happened between President Trump and President Putin of Russia, but none of these meetings produced any major breakthroughs. As part of this push, the Trump administration has pressed Russia and Ukraine to present in writing what their respective terms are for a settlement, and that could become a basis for further negotiations. A delegation of senior US military officials arrived in Kyiv this week. They're there for talks with Ukrainian officials about how to break this impasse. Zelensky, too, is seeking to resurrect long-dormant peace talks. He met in Turkey this week with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who's offered to mediate between Russia and Ukraine. Turkey has offered Bayraktar drones to Ukraine, while at the same time sealing gas deals with Russia. Turkey has previously played host to peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, but again, no concrete breakthrough has been yielded so far. The US-Russia plan emerged from talks between Steve Witkoff, who is Trump's special envoy, and his Russian counterpart Kirill Dmitriev. A senior Ukrainian official told the New York Times that the Trump administration had informed Ukraine of these talks, but it had not sought any inputs from Kyiv. The terms of this plan were unacceptable to Kyiv. The proposal would require Ukraine to surrender to Russia eastern Ukraine, in fact the entire Donbass region, and that includes even those parts which are not under Russian control. Russia currently controls about 3/4 of the eastern Donbass region. At the current rate that they're advancing, Russian troops would have to fight for another 4 years to seize all of Donbass. This is research that's been put out by Deep State, which is a group which has ties with the Ukrainian military, and it closely maps the battlefield.
It is very important for Russia to do everything to really capture Pokrovsk in any format to show success on the battlefield. Whether it is going to be Vovchansk or something else, they need to show success. Then they will be able to return. Try to return the narrative. We told you that we will capture Donbass.
The proposed settlement would also cap the size of Ukraine's army far below its current levels. It would also recognize the Crimean Peninsula as Russian, as well as other occupied territories as Russian territory. Russia was also demanding that foreign troops be prohibited from Ukrainian-controlled territories after a ceasefire. If this were to be agreed to, then this would rule out a French and British proposal to deploy what's been called a reassurance force to stabilize security in post-war Ukraine. The settlement proposal, the latest one, the 28-point proposal by Trump and his team, is similar to the one that Russia had presented in the talks in 2022. Moscow subsequently lost about half of the territory that it had captured in the initial invasion. But now, in the last few months, Russia has recaptured much of its lost territory. In fact, this year, the tide has turned in Russia's favor, as Russian forces have pierced through long-held Ukrainian positions on the battlefield. Russia is now advancing in small units into a partially surrounded city in eastern Ukraine. It's called Pokrovsk, the last remaining big city in Donetsk, which is in the eastern part of Ukraine. In fact, many analysts expect Pokrovsk to fall very soon. The Ukrainian army is strained, it is running short of material and soldiers. Increasingly, Ukraine is relying not on infantry in the trenches, but on soldiers who are flying exploding drones to slow the Russian onslaught. Russia has signaled a willingness to keep up its costly incremental advances into Ukraine so that it concedes to Russian demands to give up territory and to give up its army. And if it does, it would mean total victory for Russia. And Putin would not want to settle for anything less. Amid growing political pressure, US President Donald Trump has announced that he has signed a bill opening his administration to publicly release all the files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The bill, called the Epstein Files Transparency Act, requires the Department of Justice to release all the information about its investigation into the Epstein case in a searchable and downloadable format within 30 days. Trump, who had resisted this move for months now, changed course last week. It's just a matter of time before the details of the world's biggest sex scandal are made public.
The Republican-controlled U.S. Congress voted almost unanimously to force the release of more files on the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The House of Representatives passed the measure with a vote of 427 to 1.
On this vote, the yeas are 427, the nays are 1. 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
The resolution requiring the release of all unclassified records on Epstein was then sent to the Republican majority Senate, which swiftly approved it. Here's Senate Democratic Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
The American people have waited long enough. Jeffrey Epstein's victims have waited long enough. Let the truth come out. Let transparency reign. And I urge my Republican colleagues, let the Senate act today.
Is there an objection? Without objection, so ordered.
The Senate has now passed the Epstein bill as soon as it comes over from the House.
The bill could now go to US President Donald Trump for his signature as soon as Wednesday. According to two people with direct knowledge of the matter, the White House was caught off guard by how quickly the measure passed through Congress, saying they had expected it to take longer in the Senate. A senior White House official said that Trump plans to sign the bill when it reaches his desk. It's an outcome Trump fought against for months, before an about-face 2 days before. That was after public infighting among Republicans, including between Trump and some of his formerly most loyal supporters. Here's Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene ahead of the vote.
These women have fought the most horrific fight that no woman should have to fight, and they did it by banding together and never giving up. And that's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States, in order to make this vote happen today.
Trump appeared frustrated about the tension surrounding the issue hours before the vote.
As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right.
Epstein was a New York financier who fraternized with some of the most powerful men in the country. Trump socialized and partied with Epstein in the 1990s and 2000s before what he calls a rift. The president has said he has no connection to Epstein's crimes and has called the issue a Democratic hoax.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Now, as the probe into the Delhi blast, we're shifting our focus now, as this probe into the Delhi blast deepens, the NIA has uncovered a larger, more sinister terror conspiracy following two major arrests in the past 48 hours. Investigations now reveal that the group was modifying drones to develop rocket-based explosives for a Hamas-style attack in the national capital. A key breakthrough came with the arrest of Jasir Bilal Wani, who also is known as Danish, a Jammu and Kashmir resident and a key aide of Umar Nabi. He has been named an active co-conspirator, also accused of providing technical support. This includes the drone modification for a Hamas-style attack and attempts to build rocket-based bombs. Meanwhile, the Enforcement Directorate has arrested Jawad Ahmad Siddiqui, who is the founder of Al Falah University, in a money laundering case as well. As you know, when it comes to the Al Falah University, when it comes to its records, its accreditation, its finances, there is a lot to unpack. There a lot remains unanswered when it comes to that as well. The arrest follows evidence which was gathered during the recent searches at locations connected to this entire terror module. Now, CNN has also accessed order which is sending the Al Falah owners to 13 days ED custody, as I just told you. The founder of the Al Falah University is in custody. Saket Court says his custodial interrogation is imperative to unearth the larger terror ecosystem, the Al Falah ecosystem. Saket Court also noted that the ED submission that only a small part of Al Falah ecosystem has been identified till now. And they've also said that his family members are in the Gulf and he might flee the country as well. So that is a threat that remains. However, the owner has been sent into 13 days custody and that remains imperative. He is a very, very crucial link here. As you know, Al-Falah was truly at the center of all the terror that was emerging from this university, and we're yet to uncover what was really going on behind the scenes. For more on this, we have with us Ananya. Thank you so much for joining us, Ananya. We really are learning more and more about this Al-Falah University. It only goes to show how far and wide this entire network had spread.
Well, absolutely. In fact, this is a big breakthrough that the Enforcement Directorate had as far as the funding of the Al-Falah University is concerned. And the Al-Falah Trust owner was actually taken into custody by the Enforcement Directorate yesterday. And a 13-day police custody remand was granted after he was produced late last night before, in fact, the additional sessions judge at the Saket Court. And very important to highlight is that the court has noticed that not only his family members are in the Gulf, but there is a big risk that he might flee the country. And that's the reason why custodial interrogation is necessary. Not only that, a small chunk, the Enforcement Directorate says and tells the court, that a small chunk of the Al-Falah ecosystem, which amounts to over 415 crores, is something, that has been uncovered, and it could be much larger in nature, and that is why his custodial interrogation is necessary, since he's somebody who knows about all the financial roots of the Al-Falah Trust and the kind of funding that comes through the Al-Falah University. And that's the reason why, in fact, this particular person needs to be in the custody of the Enforcement Directorate. 13 days of police custody remand is what has been granted. 14 days was actually sought. And that is something, that makes it very, very imperative as to what was this university actually in reality. Was it, in fact, a terror funding ecosystem? Was it a university that was fueling terror, or whether there are much more than what meets the eye, is something that could be uncovered by this multi-agency probe that is being carried out by, in fact, the Enforcement Directorate, the National Investigation Agency, and obviously the Faridabad and the Delhi Police itself.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Now, as the probe into the Delhi blast, we're shifting our focus now, as this probe into the Delhi blast deepens, the NIA has uncovered a larger, more sinister terror conspiracy following two major arrests in the past 48 hours. Investigations now reveal that the group was modifying drones to develop rocket-based explosives for a Hamas-style attack in the national capital. A key breakthrough came with the arrest of Jasir Bilal Wani, who also is known as Danish, a Jammu and Kashmir resident and a key aide of Umar Nabi. He has been named an active co-conspirator, also accused of providing technical support. This includes the drone modification for a Hamas-style attack and attempts to build rocket-based bombs. Meanwhile, the Enforcement Directorate has arrested Jawad Ahmad Siddiqui, who is the founder of Al-Falah University, in a money laundering case as well. As you know, when it comes to the Al-Falah University, when it comes to its records, its accreditation, its finances, there is a lot to unpack. There a lot remains unanswered when it comes to that as well. The arrest follows evidence which was gathered during the recent searches at locations.
Viewers, tonight we report on the goings-on in the Supreme Court, which was a beehive of activity today. We turn in particular to a case that strikes at the very heart of India's national security debate. In the Supreme Court today, the Delhi police made their most explosive submission yet. They branded Sharjeel Imam and Umar Khalid as intellectual terrorists. These were the exact two words that the Delhi police used. Viewers, they said, and I quote, "Intellectuals becoming terrorists are more dangerous than those on the ground." Intellectual terrorists are the real prey because of state support and fundings. And they become doctors and activists. These types of activists are dangerous. CA protest was a red herring and whitewash. Real purpose, viewers, was regime change, economic strangulation. This is exactly what Delhi police has told the Supreme Court while opposing bail for that man on your screens, viewers, Sharjeel Imam. The police say these alleged masterminds of the 2020 Delhi anti-CA riots used scholarship, activism to push India to the brink of regime change. To argue why they should be denied bail, they presented videos of Imam's speeches. Here, viewers, we're giving you just a small inkling. And viewers, think about it. This speech is being defended by the Congress and the Congress ecosystem, viewers. First, listen to this speech.
पहले भी शायद दर्ज कर चुका हूँ। 5 लाख लोग हमारे पास हो ऑर्गेनाइज्ड तो हम हिंदुस्तान और नॉर्थ ईस्ट को परमानेंटली कट कर सकते हैं। पर हम परमानेंटली नहीं तो कम से कम 1 आध महीने के लिए तो कट कर ही सकते हैं। मतलब इतना मवाद डालो पटरियों पर, रोड पे, उनको हटाने में 1 महीना लगे, ठीक ही नहीं। जाए एयरफोर्स से, असम को काटना हमारी जिम्मेदारी है। असम और इंडिया कट के अलग हो जाए।
Viewers, can you believe it? Since we are Muslims and we live in a majority in the Chicken Necks area, we should cut off Assam, in other words, the northeast, from the mainland. Viewers, this the police say was a direct call to break India. The police also presented corroboratory transcripts as alleged proof of seditious activity in which, viewers, Sharjeel Imam is caught giving a call to Muslims to cut off the chicken's neck, call to paralyze government via mass road blockades that he says that Muslims are capable of doing. He says there should be action at protest sites to humiliate the government, threatening to teach courts a lesson. He says all of us should teach the courts a lesson. Why, viewers? For the Ayodhya judgment. These were all excerpts of Imam's clips in various speeches that were presented by the Delhi police to the Supreme Court. But even as the police lay out what they call incontrovertible evidence, a powerful political ecosystem rushes to provide legal counsel, public defense, and moral cover. Senior Congress leaders claim the accused are dissidents, not dangers. Viewers, this is what Digvijay Singh, senior leader of the Congress party, close aide of Rahul Gandhi, known to be part of his inner circle, an advisor, says bail is a rule and jail is an exception. Then what is the reason that for Muslims, bail becomes an exception? Umar Khalid holds a doctorate in history. He's a highly educated and sensitive individual. Whatever crimes he is accused of should